Hey everyone, thank you for joining in to today's episode of the Multifamily Mixtape. I am your host, Mark Sharp, and joining me today from SkillCat is Ruchir Shah. How are you, man?
Good, great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. When you reached out a couple days ago, like normally I try to prep things. I try to prepare as much as possible. But you reached out. I had some availability, and I was like, no, I got to get this guy in as soon as possible. So I will apologize for not being as prepared as I should, but I wanted to respect your schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. So tell me, what is SkillCat?
So SkillCat is an online simulation-based training platform for maintenance techs.
Hmm.
And so we have about 1,500 hours of training for HVAC, plumbing, electrical, appliance repair. Everything's accredited, and you get great certification-based online training for the trades. And we started in HVAC, we started in plumbing, we've done a lot of stuff with contractors, but our biggest user base has been maintenance techs, and especially multifamily maintenance techs.
Yeah.
Folks are just thrown into the trades, and they're thrown to the wolves with little to no support. And so you need to have a way to learn, a tool to support you and guide you as a technician.
Yeah, no, I love that, and you are absolutely correct. I mean, you said it. I didn't have to steer you in the direction. You said maintenance techs are thrown into it,
Yeah.
and that's what happens. I was doing some research the other day for a completely separate project,
Mhm.
and the number of individuals that stated that they received no training. It was like, hey, I'm going to interview for this position. I accept the compensation that you're offering me. However, I have no skills, and the companies just hire bodies at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we'll train you on the run. We'll train you while you go, and unless your company has a very robust, completely separate training program, the training on the go thing just, so having something like you said, it's an app based um, training that has all different types of plumbing, HVAC, electrical that they can kind of do as they go. That's fantastic. So you're an engineering student. What made you want to start a facilities training app? Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand that. Like what
No, it's
happened?
a great
What happened to
question.
you? Why would you want to do
Yeah.
that?
I consider myself very lucky to be, associated and working with so many incredible tradespeople. But yeah, my background is not in the trades. I started in college. I studied energy, and then I did some research on the BP oil spill,
Oh
and
wow.
then realized training was one of the biggest issues that caused that spill. And so I built out a company out of college, building online courses and simulations to train oil and gas workers. So preventing oil spills through more effective training. And so grew that for a couple of years, went to business school at Stanford and came out, and was during COVID. Everyone on our platform was getting laid off. Oil and gas was
Yeah.
struggling like crazy, and folks were moving from these six-figure amazing jobs to working at grocery stores because they just didn't know what other industries had shortages or how to get to them.
Hmm.
And so that's really how the idea from SkillCat emerged. There's a massive, massive shortage, as I'm sure everybody knows who's listening, in the skill trades, right?
Yeah.
There's just a huge, huge shortage of technicians. And there are a lot of people across the country who are trained in mechanical skills and electrical skills, who understand a lot of the fundamentals, but they just don't know how to get to these really great jobs that are out there. And so SkillCat was founded with that idea in mind. How do you help people reskill and break into industries like maintenance, like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, telecom, where there is a massive shortage of workers, but they're just really difficult pathways to get there.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of the story, and that's how we got started. It's been kind of a crazy ride over the last almost 4 years, but we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish.
That's great. So it was, I mentioned another project I was working on, and I believe there was I don't have the hard data in front of me. I'm trying to go off memory here, but there was a survey done amongst the multifamily industry,
Hmm.
and um, several questions were asked, but one of them was about how employees can remain employable.
Hmm.
So I think they surveyed again. I don't remember the number of multifamily individuals, but it was 77%. I do remember that number. 77% of people surveyed said that they would be willing to learn a new skill or to retrain in order to remain employable at their current company.
Hmm.
So it sounds like, with the oil and gas industry, people that have or workers that have learned a specific trade to do whatever their job was, it was all of a sudden unavailable, no
Hmm.
longer necessary, or whatever happened there, and they decided or needed to be retrained in order to get into something new. So, and this industry is amazing. I ask everyone who comes on my podcast, like, why do you think that people find this industry on accident?
Hmm.
It tends to be, oh, I lucked into it, or I haven't met anybody yet
Yeah.
who has gone to college for property management. There are 5 or 6 schools throughout the country that
Yeah.
have programs for that now. But the trades alone is
Hmm.
is there. Well, I would say is. I know there is, but what do you think is the like? Why do you think people are looked? Why do you think tradespeople are looked down on? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's a huge flaw in how society is, not just our government, society, how people just manage the last 30 to 40 years, right?
mhm,
Um, I think there's been this massive push for many years to push everybody to college. And it's like only if you go to college can you make a lot of money, are you going to have a great life and a good career? And it's just not true. Like today you see again and again people with college degrees with a ton of debt making a lot less than skilled trade workers with no debt, maybe making money in an apprenticeship as they're actually learning
yeah,
and making significantly more money. And so it's really a societal thing. I think like the society, put the trades down and put, academia and academic careers up. And it's just wrong. You're steering a lot of people in the wrong direction. And you're putting a lot of people who really could make incredible amounts of money working with their hands
right,
into the wrong jobs and the wrong careers.
yeah,
And so I think there's a couple solutions to this, right? But one is you have to just inform the public and make people more knowledgeable. And I think you've been liking some of my posts on LinkedIn. Something I'm trying to do is really bridge the gap between all of these amazing, hardworking, like well-paid people in the skilled trades, and all of these folks I know from like Stanford and Silicon Valley who really like almost pretend the other half of the country doesn't exist, and they send their kids to schools where they might study humanities, and it might end up positively, but they also might end up, making a 40K a year salary with 250K in debt, which
right,
is a huge problem. And so I think part of it's an awareness issue. And then part of it is how do you increase accessibility and make it easier for folks to break into these jobs? And that's
right.
what we're trying to do at SkillCat. So
Mm, I love
uh, yeah, yeah, it's definitely, it's like I think it's arguably the biggest problem of our time, right? There's such a massive shortage, and we still to this day continue shuffling everyone into the jobs that are unlikely to make them employable.
right. So it was after World War II. Everyone came back and they entered the workforce. Boomers entered the workforce, and these people are retiring,
Mhm.
and we're not filling these trades jobs fast enough. We don't have the younger generation interested. Some of them are, but for the most part, they're not entering the trades like the boomers did, and so they're retiring, and we're not backfilling.
Yeah.
And and it is a problem. It is a problem, and I've often said that the multifamily industry specifically is a recession-proof industry. People will always need somewhere to live.
Mhm.
Sure, rents will go up, rents will go down, properties will get bought and sold every day, but there will always be apartments. There will
Absolutely.
always be jobs, careers in the multifamily industry. And as much as AI is taking over a lot of your managerial duties, and um, companies are going remote, or using the term centralizing, AI will never be able to fix your air conditioner. AI will never be able to fix your water heater, repair your leak, fix your ceiling, change your light bulbs. These are things that AI will never be able to do. So, again, I'm an advocate for our industry and keeping maintenance workers trained properly, and keeping them employed and letting them know that this is a phenomenal career.
No,
And
absolutely. And I mean, in Silicon Valley, people say AI is going to eventually replace everything. Maybe that's true, but this is the last thing that it would be able to replace, right? You're
right,
already seeing people out of work in marketing. You're seeing people out of work in writing. You're seeing a lot of traditional, so-called safe, white-collar office jobs getting replaced. But there's just a massive, massive continued shortage in all the trades. And so, yeah, I think maintenance technicians are really incredible, really rewarding jobs. So, I
mhm,
mean, there's definitely there's a shortage, and they're going to be around forever. They're high paying, and they're rewarding. So you're actually much happier on average as a skilled trade worker than you are in an office job, even as like a software developer, because you actually finish something. You have this job satisfaction of accomplishing things on a consistent basis, and interacting with people. Like there's just tremendous benefits to jobs in the trade. So
yeah,
yeah, I 100% agree.
yeah. So, when you were creating SkillCat, like, what, if any, roadblocks did you encounter? Was this a well received idea, or did you have to fight to get this off the ground? Like, what did you go through to get this going?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like starting something new is you're constantly fighting with everyone. But well, when we initially got started, our vision was, hey, we'll actually make training completely free
Hmm.
for individuals, and then companies will pay us to hire workers through the platform. And so we actually operated like that for the first couple of years as a company, and that was really hard. I think like we've trained, over 300,000 people in the
Wow.
trades. Uh, but it was really hard to actually place them into jobs. Like that's just a very hard logistical challenge to compete with companies like Indeed and a lot of the other platforms out there. So we pivoted last year and we're like, hey, we'll start charging for our training, but we'll make it more reasonable and sustainable. So even today, if you're a technician who wants to break in to the industry, it's $10 a month, and you get access to all of our certifications, all of our training, everything you need. And then we have these great offerings for companies like in multifamily, where they get access to, you know, the dashboard, reporting, integration, the works, and that's a higher fee. But for workers, we get a ton of people in the industry and give them a really easy pathway to break in. And uh, so yeah, I think one of the big challenges for us was pivoting. But in the process of being free for such a long time, we became super popular. So I
Hmm.
think we're still getting our name out there in multifamily, and it takes time to get known in multifamily. But among skilled trade workers, we're very popular. So like people talk about us every week, all the time on Reddit. Like when we were at NAA, you see property managers be like, oh, I maybe heard of you, but then we'd have skilled, maintenance techs and maintenance supervisors come over to us. They're like, oh yeah, I downloaded your app. Like I've been using it for 2 years. And it's like, what? Like I didn't even know your company like was
Yeah.
working with us yet. And so uh, from the ground up, we built a product that maintenance techs really love and really value. And um, I think we started in HVAC, and so we still have a massive, you know, user base in HVAC. What we realized is, unintentionally, and we didn't even know multifamily existed, right?
Right.
So we came in and we were like, huh, maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. Everyone's industry was maintenance, and it's like this group of people just really doesn't get support. They're lonely, they struggle, and they need help in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, appliance repair, all of these different areas. They need to know a little bit in everything. right? And so because of that, very quickly we realized maintenance is a massive industry for us. And then we've moved, aggressively into multifamily. So I think for us, biggest challenge has been pivot. So figuring out, hey, we don't want to necessarily be a jobs platform, we want to be a training platform. And hey, HVAC is a great industry and we want to do all the trades, but multifamily, whoa, this is like a big opportunity where people could really benefit from what we're doing.
Right. So on the multifamily side, I understand you didn't start necessarily in that space, but specifically multifamily. Again, I'm going to reference that same study I was doing before, and I reached for my phone just a second ago to turn it on because I want to make sure that I'm giving you the proper percentage here. But 94% of current employees would stay at a company longer if that company invested in their learning and development.
Makes sense,
So,
right? Yeah.
right. So, as far as SkillCat and multifamily, do you feel that SkillCat is a replacement or would be a replacement to a company's learning, any sort of training that a company could provide, or do you see SkillCat as a tool for the technicians? I know you mentioned that you offer a company platform or a level at which a company could join and have reporting and access to certain things. I
Yeah.
mean, do you see this replacing a lot of the hands-on learning that companies can provide, or do you see this as a tool more for the maintenance professional?
No, listen. If companies there are some companies that have these incredible training programs where they, provide like hands-on mentorship, apprenticeship, but the vast majority of companies have almost nothing for their
No.
maintenance techs. So, like, I don't think it even needs to be discussed. I think the companies that have incredible programs, they still use us for things like EPA 608 certification, right?
Mhm.
We're an incredible resource for that. They still leverage us for portions of what we offer. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, the vast majority of companies in multifamily, they have amazing training programs for leasing,
Right.
or amazing training programs for office staff, but absolutely nothing for maintenance techs. And so, I mean, I think what we've done with a lot of companies is we basically become their training program for maintenance.
Right.
Where you come into the app, it starts you day one, you have a learning plan, like a career path. You can be like, hey, I'm a maintenance tech level one. You need to go through these courses and accomplish these things to get to maintenance level tech 2 and level tech 3. And so it helps techs actually feel like they're part of a company. It, as to your point, dramatically improves retention because you actually can see the impact of what you're learning and actually grow and be able to do things that are new every month.
Yeah.
And in our learning plans, we also let folks upload evidence. So as your manager, you can say like, hey, to get from level 1 to level 2, you need to go through these online courses, but hey, in the field, you need to go and do these actual tasks and upload a picture or video of you doing these correctly. And that all gets tracked in our system. So
Hmm.
we're tracking and measuring not just, hey, can you go through an online course and learn, but what do you actually go and learn in the field? And
Right.
SkillCat's a great resource so you can actually measure that and track that. And then, hey, like when you've done all of this, we'll give you like a $1 an hour, or $2 an hour, or $5 an hour raise. And so you actually like feel like you're growing, right? Otherwise, I think a lot of maintenance techs feel like they're ignored, they're not supported, and then they have no idea how they get to that next level in their career.
Hmm.
So yeah, absolutely. I think there's tremendous opportunity with companies, and we work with a lot of the largest multifamily companies in the space exactly for this problem. So uh, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of opportunity, and retention for maintenance tech does not need to be as bad as it is. You just need to do some basic things to support
That's right. I
them.
mean, when you look at that percentage, I was on site for a long time, and I can't tell you the number of guys who left a company to go across the street, for an extra 50 cents, and at specific moments in time, you think a 50-cent raise, that's not worth it, but to a lot of people, 50 cents is worth it,
Yeah, and
and
you feel like you're growing, right? It's like
yeah.
this, like I mean, you just think when somebody does that, like, have they talked to their existing company? Like, do they discuss that they wanted a path to a higher? pay amount. Like,
Mhm.
there's a bunch of issues there, right? And so I think this is where like offering a clear career path is tremendously useful. And I'm sure you've seen this as someone who's. I think I was listening to one of your. I mean, you were on Adrian's podcast at some
Oh,
point.
yep, yep.
I was on there a few months ago as well. You worked as a property manager before you were a maintenance tech.
Mhm.
So it must have been kind of, I'm assuming, a bit of a jarring experience to see how those two roles are often treated in multifamily.
Oh yeah, it's I was a property manager a long time ago. We won't get into that, but I quickly realized it was not for me.
Mhm,
But I've worn a lot of hats in this industry specifically.
mhm,
I didn't go from management straight to maintenance.
mhm,
Well, I mean, I did, but then I got onto the supplier side of things, and I
mhm,
became a pretty successful supplier for a maintenance supply company.
mhm,
That company was sold and sold and sold and sold,
mhm,
and I was lost in the flush there. But that's okay. I learned a lot from that because you have the way managers are treated,
mhm.
you have the way maintenance is treated, and then you learn as a supplier knowing what it was to be a manager, knowing what it was to be a maintenance guy. So it's like I
Yeah,
learned pretty quickly how to talk to managers,
yeah,
how to talk to maintenance. So that's what made me a successful supplier. And
makes sense.
Yeah, but the maintenance space is just where I find fulfillment.
Mhm,
And to me, if I'm working in a career, working at a path, like I want to be fulfilled when I go home.
mhm,
I want to know that I put in a good day's work and I'm able to lay my head down at night and sleep. And so yeah, I've worn a lot of hats in the industry, and it's spanned 24 years
mhm.
that I've been in this space.
Yeah,
And but one thing that has been a consistent thing for me is maintenance.
mhm,
Maintenance doesn't get the love that they should.
yeah,
And I think in some areas the 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 pay gap is getting better.
mhm,
I do feel like, again, some areas, for those of you that may be listening across the country, I can't speak, but I can speak specifically about my town, Greenville, South Carolina. Um, pay is increasing for maintenance, for good maintenance, and that's the difference. A lot of people want to get paid top dollar just because they have a screwdriver in their hand, and I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. If
yeah,
you invest in yourself, get your skills, um, take advantage of your company's training programs, become a better tech, do the right thing, learn your soft skills, you can get paid very well.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we talked about, you mentioned having over 300,000 people go through your program. How many different certifications or courses does SkillCat offer? And I know some of them may not be specific to the multifamily industry, but just in general, how many classes and certifications, and if you don't mind, spout out a few of them, just
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, it's surprising, honestly, how relevant almost anything in the trades is to multifamily. Because,
Mhm.
as a technician, you get exposed to a little bit of everything, right? So we have about 1,500 hours of training, hundreds of courses. So a lot of material on the platform. So I think, obviously EPA 608 is a big one
Yep.
for everyone, and it's a required certification if you want to work with HVAC. And we're actually directly accredited through the EPA. So with a proctorless kind of asynchronous proctoring. So we take pictures and videos of you as you go through the exam, and then no scheduling required. They get your certificate later. We'll have someone review that and award it to you. So really easy. You just go on the app, it like walks you through it, and you get certified without it needing an expensive or full time proctor to deal
Mhm.
with that. So that's definitely a super popular one. We have OSHA 10 and we have CPO through the platform, both for maintenance. And then we have a ton of courses on like actual skills you'll do in the field. So, on electrical, like how to use a multimeter, reading wiring diagrams, electrical troubleshooting, basic wiring. We have a bunch of mechanical skills and mechanical troubleshooting, hand tools, a lot on appliance repair, so like troubleshooting and washing machines and dryers and refrigerators, service and install and maintenance, uh, and then on the plumbing side as well, quite a few courses on the fundamentals. So yeah, pretty wide catalog. I would say, especially in multifamily, in addition to training, where we have this massive amount of training, we also have this whole section of the app with real time tools for techs to use in the field. Or we'll actually have troubleshooting flows that walk you through with videos, step by step, different work orders.
Mm-hmm.
So like how do you like troubleshoot a toilet? Like first you check your flapper and walking you through step by step that entire process. We have every manual you'll ever need for major appliances and HVAC. We'll have error codes for all, easy lookups for all the error codes you need for appliances and HVAC. And
Yeah.
so it's a bunch of resources that not just help you with training, but also, in the field, how do you like quickly and efficiently solve work orders and make residents happy?
Oh, that's great. So one of the things when I told you I was not prepared, I would have done a little bit more research and downloaded your app and gone through some training just so I could specifically mention some specific things about it. However, I did watch a YouTube video, so
Cool.
I watched one on the multimedia, I said multimedia because it's in my face. Media
Yeah,
is
yeah.
right here in my face, but the multimeter. So I did watch one of the YouTube shorts, I guess, on SkillCat's training with the multimeter, and I mean it was simple. It doesn't have to be hard,
Yeah.
and so breaking things down into a very easily digestible form
Mm-hmm.
is and is great. And those of us in the maintenance field, we're very mechanical people.
Mm-hmm.
I can read, I could read something 100 times and not learn a thing. You
Mm-hmm.
show me once, I've got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and
Absolutely.
and so having that visual, having those training aids that you said that are there,
Mm-hmm.
it is a tool to,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's a tool to help diagnose. And again, it's like you go through it one or two times until you think you have it, and then
Mm-hmm.
from then on you don't need to go back because
Exactly.
you realize that you're doing this, you're repeating the same steps, and
Yeah.
it becomes second nature at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I just from the couple minute video that I did watch just to familiarize myself with a certain portion of the
Mm-hmm.
training, I found it easy,
Yeah.
just extremely easy.
That's
And
great. Yeah.
yeah, that's what you want, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's the
Yeah,
goal.
yeah. So you mentioned 300,000. You mentioned the over 1,500 hours of training. That's phenomenal. So, and I know you've probably mentioned this in some of the other conversation pieces that we've had back and forth, but I want to ask you specifically, how do you think the multifamily industry can benefit from using SkillCat?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think so. Two or three major areas, right? If you're an operations manager or a
Mhm.
property manager, number one, cutting costs,
Yeah.
right? So the number of times we've seen maintenance techs call out an HVAC contractor for things like replacing a filter, right, is absurd. It's like
Yeah.
$500 or $1,000 per call, and then this is something that like very very easily you could train someone to do in house. So like I I wore a shirt I think at NAA a year ago, or OpTech, that was like, the fastest way, the easiest way to improve your NOI, your bottom line, is by cutting maintenance costs. And so training is a tremendous ROI in cutting maintenance costs, and that's a massive line item, is
Mhm.
all of those external vendor expenses. And we've seen this work successfully with case studies with companies we worked with in the past. They implement SkillCat, they do a lot more work orders in house, they save a lot of money. So one big thing is work orders, and the other big thing is retention. So people always complain about maintenance techs not staying on the job. And it's not because they're like incompetent, because they're not given support or guidance or training. You need to give someone a clear path to growth
Yep.
and show them how to get there. And that's what a tool like SkillCat can do. It takes it out of, a manager's head and it puts it on an app on your phone where you can exactly see how you get from level one to level two, pay one to pay two to pay three, and you see your path to growth. It empowers people who really want to be empowered. And so, yeah, I think those are kind of the two biggest areas we've seen tremendously help. And then, ultimately, this all leads to resident happiness, right? I think like
That's the
it's
goal, right?
after you get an apartment, the only person you really end up interacting with is maintenance. You don't talk to leasing. Like I lived in apartments my whole life. Like you talk to maintenance,
Hmm.
and if maintenance can't fix your problem, if they take an extra day or 2 days, you got to wait for a week for an HVAC guy to come out, and someone doesn't have their AC working. There's nothing that'll get you faster to a negative Yelp or Google review than something like that. And so the more you empower your people, the more you train them, the more resources you give your technicians, the better and happier residents you'll have. So even from a revenue side, you'll get better renewals, you'll have a higher renewal rate, you'll actually, get better reviews and like word of mouth. Everything will just be better. So like it's a no brainer. Like we're spend as much money on your maintenance tech as you're spending on your property managers. That's what I would say.
Wow, that's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it, and I don't disagree. I really don't, and I think a lot. Obviously, a lot of maintenance in the industry would agree with you as well.
Mhm.
But there are very few companies out there that get it.
But it
There are
makes
some that
business
do.
sense. The companies that get it are doing well.
Right,
So
right. It's who I can't remember who I was talking to, but recently, but it was like companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing and all of these other ways to get people in the door, find me, get here, get here, get
yeah.
here, but they don't spend any money on keeping people. And like you said, when that resident moves in, 95% of the person or the people that they're going to come in contact with are maintenance.
Mhm.
If they go to the office, it's typically for a problem. It's because maintenance has a back ordered part, or because of this, or because of something. Being on site, I mean, it was very rare that a resident would come by to say, "Hey, Mark, it's nice to see you today. You're doing a great job." It was always like, "Hey, my neighbor was banging around last night, or didn't pick up after their dog right outside my door."
Yeah.
And so, the interaction that maintenance has with residents is key. That's who the
Yeah.
residents are going to see. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, spend your marketing dollars to get people in the door, but you also have to learn how to shut that back door.
Hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of, I don't say a lot of companies, but a lot of people don't realize
Yeah.
how.
100%.
Yeah,
So yeah.
outstanding. So as we kind of wrap up here, I like to give my guests just a final question, and it's really just an opinion based question. So feel free to speak your mind here. But what would you say to someone who wants to enter the workforce as a laborer, but doesn't possess any specific trade skills? How would you empower them?
Go for it. Right. This is like this, the growth that you'll experience over the next 30 to 40 years in any skilled trade is going to be tremendous. Right. There's such a shortage. The skills are only growing that you'll need every year. And you can do it. There's tremendous resources. SkillCat's a great resource. There's incredible resources online. There's a million great YouTube videos. Like even if you don't have the skills today, there are enough resources out there that you can get all of the skills you need and just get started.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, it's like anything else. Once you get started, you can really, really like learn and make a huge impact. And it's arguably, in my opinion, the trades are the best way to become a millionaire today. initially maybe starting as a trade worker, but eventually if you want to start your own company, like a lot of millennials do, a lot of Gen Z does, there's no better path than building a lot of great trade skills and then translating that to some way working for yourself. So there's tremendous opportunities, and you just gotta embrace it.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. I can't, I don't want to alter that at all. That was great. And, I do agree. It is just, you gotta take that leap. You got to trust it, and you got to go. I mean, there's no one that's going to fight harder for you than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. And I love what SkillCat's doing. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff left here to talk about. And if you'd be willing, I'd love to have you on again for a follow up.
Yeah, let's
And
do it.
just keep it going. I love holding people to the fire.
Yeah.
And if I can accomplish anything with my podcast and with speaking and education, it's to help companies implement training programs such as SkillCat,
Mm-hmm.
and to try to empower maintenance to invest in themselves. You
Yeah.
know, so I would love to continue this relationship and have you on again for sure.
Let's
So
do it. And yeah, check out our app and ask
yeah,
some hard hitting questions.
yeah,
So let's
you
do
got
it.
You got it. Well, Ruchir from SkillCat, I really, really appreciate you, especially on such short notice, coming on and joining me for our talk today. So, for all of you listening, thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe, and go check out SkillCat.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.